Well, now we're going to get into what I think is one of the key strengths of R, and that is data visualization. So what I want to do is show you just a few examples of what's possible with R when it comes to data visualization. Now, data visualization just in general is becoming more and more popular as I think researchers and just non-researchers begin to understand that sometimes it's hard to understand what tables mean, but watching how tables can be transferred into visuals, sometimes things are just much easier to understand that way. So I want to just show you some examples. First of all, I want to show you this really cool way to think about correlations. What I'd like you to do is install this package, Performance Analytics. Again, go to Packages, click Install, and type in Performance Analytics, and then install it. All right, and I'm going to open it, so to speak. All right, and it gives me some warnings here, but it works. Performance Analytics is now working. Now, what I want to show you is this function in this package known as chart.correlation. In the previous module, we talked about correlations, and we had some charts here, right? Which, okay, we can kind of understand what's going on with those charts. But as you know, most studies don't have 3 variables. Most studies have a lot more variables. And sometimes it's hard to kind of understand, what's going on with the data set. I want to run this. Okay, and you'll notice that now all of a sudden the plots have come up. All right, now we're going to be focusing a lot on plots, and that's why my face is no longer where it has been on the others, because now we're going to focus on this quadrant. And you can see that this particular function in this package will show us the distributions of the variables on the diagonal. All right, and then it will show us scatter plots, and then you'll see these kind of regression lines, best fit. Okay, and notice the same numbers are over here in terms of the correlations, but notice how they get bigger the stronger the correlation is, right? Which I think is pretty cool. So this is just a way to better understand the correlations in the data sets that you might examine. And so this can be, as you can imagine, pretty useful if you have 10 to 15 variables. So that's one way to visualize data. I also want to show you how you might visualize data in different ways. Okay, that's just one function for correlations. Let me first show you, this is in base R. We're going to use the hist function in base R. You don't need a package for this. And this basically says we want to look at a histogram of, remember the convention, data frame, $ variable. So we want to look at a histogram of the happy variable. And this is what we get. Okay, now one cool thing is you can click this zoom button, and then it becomes its own window if you'd like to do that. Okay, I often do this, and then I'll take like a little screenshot of it so then I can paste it in a paper. But it's not pretty, right? I mean, it's gray bars, and I don't necessarily like putting RM data $ happy. It's just not great. And so base R can do a lot of things in terms of visualizations, but really what you need is ggplot. Okay, so ggplot2 is a package that is unbelievable. I mean, there are just so many options, and what I want you to do is install that now. Okay, go to install, search for ggplot, ggplot2, sorry, and then install it, and then I'm going to call that up. Okay, so you can notice that this is saying now, okay, wait, there's the following objects are masked from package psych alpha. Okay, so something, if you're interested in alpha in either ggplot or psych, that function there's something going on with it. Okay, so you just want to be careful. But like I said earlier, I don't run into these problems very often. I don't even know what alpha is in this particular case. So now that we've installed and loaded ggplot2, we're going to use the ggplot function to create a histogram. Okay, and this histogram is already like a little better. Okay, it's a little better than the other one. all right? And I can show you, like, we don't have this kind of nasty name up here, and it looks a little better. Now, you can also see that it's going to give us this, okay, this error stat bin using bins equals 30, pick a better value. Okay, this will give you that warning quite a bit. So we can try 50, okay, and see what happens. All right, and it changes, there's some subtle changes as a result of that. All right, so I'm going to show you how we can build on this. All right, I am more of a fan of kernel density plots than histograms, and I want to show you how to do that. So notice, okay, so, and I kind of skipped over this, but ggplot data set, this is the variable happiness, and then up here I put geom dash underscore histogram, and now it's geom underscore density. All right, so it's a different function. All right, and now all of a sudden it's more continuous in nature. All right, so you might look at this and go, okay, yeah, that's interesting. Not quite sure why you think that's so cool, Travis. And so what I'll tell you is, ggplot allows you to create all sorts of different options. So let me show you this next one. Now you'll notice that I've added, okay, and in ggplot you can just use the plus sign and add more and more and more, and there are all sorts of resources online for what you might want to add. But in this case, I want to add some colors, all right? And this is kind of new in RStudio, if we can get this off here, but like when you type in these colors, that's dark blue, it actually turns dark blue. Okay, so this is saying the color is dark blue and the fill is light blue. So what does that mean? Okay, so now it's changed a bit, right? Now it looks a little more presentable. Our viewer might think that's a little nicer, might think you're a little more sophisticated if you do something like that, right? But maybe we don't like those colors. So maybe a reviewer will like the lime green line and the hot pink fill. Probably not, but the point is you can change these to be whatever you want. All right. Now, here's something else that's kind of cool. You can make these charts or these figures or these plots their own objects. And what do I mean by that? All right. So this is, I've repeated the same code, but notice I put an A and then that arrow. All right. So I'm gonna call this A and this one below, B. All right, you'll notice, okay, now we have A and B that show up here. And I honestly don't know what this will do, but it'll just give you a bunch of details about like what is involved in A, and B would be the same thing. So why do I do that? Because we might want to put them together in different ways. And here's another package that's really cool, and it's called Grid Extra. All right, and so I want you to go and search for this package, install it. All right, and then we're going to load it. Again, if you need to just pause and then do it and come back. And I'm going to load this package. All right, and I'm going to use what's called the grid.arrange function. And look what happens. Now they're together, right? And now maybe I don't want that. Maybe I don't like them like that. Maybe I want them next to each other. Well, we can use that same package and say, okay, well, we want the rows to be one. So that means put them all on one row. And so what do you think happens? Okay, so now they're put next to each other. So this is like a really cool way to combine different plots. Now, something else that's pretty cool, and you don't see this in Stata, you don't have this capability in Stata, is that it's keeping kind of a log of all these plots. And so you can just scroll back and see what you've done. You can't do this in Stata, all right? Only the most current plot will stay there, unless it's changed. But that's basically what it's been. Now, I should also say that you can change these axes labels, you can change the titles, you can do whatever you want. The possibilities are endless with ggplot. I don't want to overwhelm you with all those options right now, okay? But just rest assured that you can create nice titles, you can change the fonts, you can change everything. But there's so many things you can change that it can become overwhelming. And so what I want you to walk away what I want you to walk away with is that you have all sorts of different options here. But these are the basics. Now, let's say that instead of just looking at the distributions, which is pretty important, but let's look at scatter plots. All right, so let's see what the scatter plot looks like between happiness and job satisfaction. So this is just saying ggplot, okay, and geom underscore point will just say we want these points here, okay, dots basically, and these are the default values. You'll see job satisfaction here, happiness here, and of course there's a positive correlation here. Okay, makes sense. Job satisfaction is associated with someone's overall happiness. It also makes sense because I simulated the data to look like this. But we might not like those features, and this is so cool. You can change everything about this. All right. Notice how the geom point is just empty parentheses here. Now we're going to change the size, the shape, and the color so they're not going to be black dots anymore. Okay, now they're purple, and I don't even know what you would call these things. All right, and you can go to this website here, and it gives you kind of the recipe for all of the different shapes. But we can kind of play around with it and just see, okay, well, what does shape 5 do? Okay, those are diamonds, and maybe we want the size to be 1 instead of 3. Okay, so you have small diamonds, and so we might want to, let's try 8. Okay, those look like asterisks. Okay, so they're all sorts of, well, we're not sure because they're too small. Okay, yeah, there you go. So again, we could zoom, okay, and look at the relationship between the variables. There are endless opportunities for data visualization. And what I wanted to do with this module is not teach every single thing about data visualization, but to just introduce the concept, show the capabilities, and get you excited about it. And hopefully you will be encouraged to look into more of the data visualization options that are available with ggplot and others, but in particular ggplot. So now you have kind of a baseline understanding of visualization, and in the next section we're going to talk about how we create group level variables and then merge them back in to the existing data sets.